Head S, Ministry of Manpower, Mr. Desmond Choo.
Chairman, I beg to move that the total sum to be allocated for Head S of the estimates to be reduced by $100. Since the start of the pandemic, the Ministry of Manpower has been charged with protecting the workforce from escalating unemployment and the threat of COVID as workers return to work. The results are clear. 155,000 jobs were saved or created. Nearly 2% shaved off the potential increase in unemployment rate. Now, to further judge the ministry progress, it is perhaps instructive to examine much of our post-recovery budget debate thus far. We had a chance to look at many longer-term plans, but this would not likely have happened if our unemployment rates have tanked and not recovered. This stands in stark contrast to many overseas countries which are still deeply mired in COVID-19 cases and in the deepest of recession. Hong Kong's unemployment is at 7%, the US is at 6.3%, while Singapore's is around 3%. I would like to thank our MOM officers who sacrificed and worked day and night to stabilize the spread of COVID-19 at the dormitories so that work could proceed safely and services could resume. And they also kept our workers employed and our workplaces safe. So many thanks to Minister Josephine Teo and the team of MOM officers. Thank you very much. Even so, we know that we are not out of the woods, and recovery is far from certain. We are always a big cluster or two away from falling off the recessionary cliff. In fact, the aviation, aerospace, hospitality, and retail sectors still have years before they can recover. How would the ministry support workers from these hard-hit sectors, especially if the job support scheme is slated to end in September this year? Now, much time, and rightly so, was spent debating on supporting our lower-wage workers during the budget debate. And our key trend in many other countries has been the disproportionate number of lower-income workers losing their jobs. How many low-income, low-wage workers do we manage to protect during this COVID crisis? If these jobs were lost, then uplifting lower-wage workers will only be doubly difficult. That we are able to moderate the unemployment rates and maintain industrial peace even during very difficult times, are not a matter of good fortune. The secret weapon we have is our special model of tripartism. Workers and companies are united with the government to implement difficult cost-cutting measures. This has allowed us to manage costs and save jobs. I remember representing the unions in the many prolonged and tense National Wage Council discussions last year. While understandably tense and sometimes heated, we were united in trust that we will do our best to ensure the Singapore economy will survive and as many workers as possible remain in their jobs. I hope that while we are looking at refining manpower policies, we do not forget tripartism, Singapore's bulwark against debilitating economic forces. It has worked during every one of our crises. It has worked during the deepest of the COVID pandemic. We must continue to safeguard and invest in it. COVID-19 has surfaced the highly disruptive forces of digitization and remote working. Now, these are causing structural employment issues. It goes just beyond workers in Singapore being dislocated, but also losing jobs permanently because of the ease of working online. Our decades-long investment in our training and placement system has allowed us to redeploy workers quickly. In the labour movement, we know the difficulty of retraining and finding worker another job. According to a New York Times article on 27 February 2021, unemployment is traumatic, affecting mental and physical health, and also erodes skill sets. We see that with our very own retrenched workers. A robust placement system is critical not only during this crisis, but also to tackle structural dislocations. How would the ministry continue to evolve our job placement system to deal with structural changes, especially for our PMEs? The structural forces also beg the question on how shall we evolve our foreign manpower system so that it serves both current and future needs. It has served companies well over the years as they could expand beyond our small local workforce size will allow. Now, the question going ahead is how to help businesses to operate effectively while at the same time allowing for the Singaporean core to grow. Now, these challenges can be difficult to balance. It can be difficult to tighten manpower quota without causing disruption to many companies. Now, industries are more complex now, and so are their needs for manpower and talent. Many companies are involved in multiple industries and do not neatly fall into the 5 major sectors in the current system. Companies also need multi-skilled workers doing multiple roles. While we have critical shortages of local workers in some industries, our local workforce might have supply in many other places. Now, and this can happen within the same sector amongst different job roles. This is not surprising considering how educational and workforce profiles have changed rapidly over recent years. How can the ministry balance such needs going forward? Now, COVID-19 has also brought to the spotlight an important part of our workforce, which is self-employed persons. Now, CERS was instrumental in helping our SEPs tide through a very difficult period. I shared during the budget debate on the need to level the playing field between the SEPs and the big platform companies and organizations. I would like to ask what the ministry's plans to strengthen retirement adequacy. This is a tricky trade-off to manage between their take-home income and preparing for the future. How would the ministry also involve the companies to provide for these SEPs? Now, furthermore, many SEPs are not given training and are likely to be stagnant and lose productivity over time. How can we continue to develop and provide training for SEPs so they can grow this segment of the workforce? Next, I'd like to touch on our foreign domestic workers and how we can care for them. Over the last few weeks, we have heard unfortunate stories of FDWs being abused. NTUC's Centre for Domestic Workers, or CDE, was set up to help our FDWs. It has disbursed nearly $200,000 to 160 of them between 2016 and 2020. He has sheltered and supported more than 1,500 of them. He has a network of 1,000 volunteers and ambassadors who engage with them to identify those who require assistance, educate them about their rights and about resources. What are the ministry's future plans to further care for FDWs to prevent unfortunate abuse cases from happening again? How can organizations such as CDE complement the ministry's work? I hope the employment agencies can play greater roles in safeguarding the welfare of the FDWs even after a successful placement. So in conclusion, as much as our MOM officers have worked extremely hard, I am afraid even more hard work awaits them. Singapore needs MOM to keep its dead-eye focus on implementing our workplace safe management measures right, to implement our employment and workplace safety policies right, so that our workers can continue to get jobs and work safely until Singapore has successfully tackled the COVID-19 pandemic. Sir, I beg to move.